Given the nature of my channel, after God of War Ragnarok release, I had a lot of comments asking me to react to some of my old theories, because I think it's because some people wanted to see whether I got them right, and some people just wanted to see happy that I got a lot of them wrong. And I mean, a lot of them wrong. And look, this reacting to my old theories is a pretty easy video for me to make, and honestly kind of fun, but it also sounds very time consuming. But then I remembered that I had uploaded this video talking about the predictions for the boss fights of the game, and I wanted to react to it because bosses is kind of what fuels me sometimes to buy games completely. That's why I'm considering buying Final Fantasy 16. The bosses look exactly like God of War 3, if not even better. But yeah, it is true that months or maybe years, I don't exactly know when I uploaded this video, I made a prediction video talking about the bosses that we were going to see in God of War Ragnarok. And because I didn't think it was a smart idea to spend hours just reacting to my old theories, I thought I would just react to this one because it's a topic I like, and I think we can have some fun with it and just talk about the things I got wrong and the things I got right. In other words, I get to show off some of my prediction skills here. So let's go ahead and do it. Yeah, so the video was actually uploaded a year ago. That was quite some time ago. I honestly don't know how many of these like age well. Oh my god. It was back when I didn't even have the animation for my intro. Like now it's all fancy. You can see the Blades of Chaos and the Leviathan Axe. This was back when I only had the music and I could only like do this like very bootleg intro. It's so bad. I mean, I remember being kind of proud when Kratos was like, and he lifted his axe. That was a pretty cool moment for me, but man, this is not aged well. Look at his face. God damn, Kratos, what's wrong with you, man? Alright. Hey, how's it going, guys? Kaptain Kuba here, and I want to start this video by ruining your day. It has been 7 months since God of War Ragnarok was shown to us. To some of us, this might not feel like a long time since... I'm sorry. You should know that in my reaction videos, I stop and I talk a bit. This one's 17 minutes long, so I'm sorry in advance, but this video is gonna be really nostalgic for me because it was made on a time when I was like really excited for God of War Ragnarok, right? And now after the game has come out, it's like, what do we do now? But there was a moment where we were all like just completely on board with this. We're like, what's gonna be in the game? Anyway, let's keep going. We're constantly thinking about the game. But the good news is that I'm pretty sure Sony's getting ready to show us some more footage, whether it be a trailer or demo and possibly a release date. But in the meantime, we have to keep going. And in today's video, I thought I would finally give you my prediction for the bosses of God of War. Did I really say Athena was gonna be a boss fight? Why is Athena there? I don't remember the logic for why I put Athena there. I mean, Odin and Thor looked, they seemed like good predictions, but Athena, I don't remember the reasoning. Believe it or not, this was actually one of the first videos that gave my channel some popularity. And I can't believe that so many people subscribed through this video, because it's truly cringy. So if you want to see some old school Kaptain Kuba, you can click on this link. Needless to say, I have changed the way I make my videos, and even my ideas regarding future boss battles have changed as well. This is why I wanted to remake this video, as the release of God of War Ragnarok surely approaches. Now, some information seems to indicate that this game is going to be over 40 hours long, twice as long as the first game, and given its open nature, I'm expecting a lot of optional boss battles, something the first game really lacked. But I'm not gonna sit here for 2 hours musing about all of these boss battles. I mean, that was kind of a right prediction. We got a couple dragons fights here and there. I do wish like we had like more dungeons type of thing. I thought they were gonna like change how they did the Valkyrie bosses types. I wasn't a big fan of the Berserkers at the end. It's not that they're bad boss fights. I had a lot of fun with them. It's just that they felt too samey and they didn't really feel that connected to the story. But I don't know. I think they were pretty good. The dragons are easily my favorite ones. My favorite side bosses. Like those, a lot of work went into that, and I really like those fights. Instead, I just want to give you 10 boss battles that I either think will happen or I wish will happen. This is a fun project for me, since I can put on my fake God of War director's hat and just give you a few ideas for the story and mechanics behind these possible fights. So with all that talk out of the way, let's get to my first prediction for the boss battles of God of War Ragnarok. The first one is an obvious one, but I truly believe the first boss battle in the game will be against Freya. The reason I say this is because when Kratos is fighting Freya in the trailer, he doesn't have the Blades of Chaos. But in other scenes, we see them on his back. This tells me that Santa Monica will start us off with this coat, but as soon as things get heated, no pun intended,
Kratos will take it off and retrieve the Blades of Chaos again from his home, just like he did in the first game.
I just want to say that that pun was totally intended. I just said no pun intended because it makes me seem like good and all that, but it was totally intended. I mean, technically I was right. We did kind of fight Freya. Well, not really. It was more of a quick time event. I thought it would be more, I think I talk about it now, but I think it was going to be, I originally thought it was going to be more of an actual fight, like a health bar. I guess I was right in the sense that we got it later on, but I mean, we all knew we were going to fight Freya at some point.
It's very possible this boss fight won't even be too gameplay focused. The first part is going to be cinematic, just like we saw in the trailer. After that, I predict Kratos and Freya will fight, and Santa Monica will use this moment in the story to teach the player how to do basic things such as attack and dodge. But against a character
I was wrong about
more
that.
memorable than the first troll. So it's best not to think of this encounter as a boss fight. Instead, think of it as being more of a tutorial. Now,
I mean, I was wrong about that. Like, it was just cinematic, which is a really cool cinematic. I like it a lot, but I wasn't right. Okay, so -1 points for Captain Kuba there.
Sure, I don't have to say this, but I don't think this fight will result in Freya's death, as her story arc needs more time to develop. The real first fight of the game is probably the most anticipated one as well. Thor.
Are you a calm
Okay.
and reasonable person?
Given past God of War game intros, Santa Monica has the hard task on their hands to deliver an amazing first impression with Thor. They have to depict Thor as a god who can stand shoulder to shoulder with Kratos, and I think the best way to do this is by bringing some spectacle into the fight. So I think at first we're going to get the introduction of Thor, and because I don't want to embarrass myself, I'm not gonna try and do voice acting. Instead, I'm just gonna play a small section of an audiobook made by a friend.
Did you really think your home would be safe after all you've done?
I remember that.
Kill again? Father, what's he talking about?
There's no need for further bloodshed.
I had forgotten I also did like an art contest. I don't know if I should do one of those again. I had a lot of fun with that. It was really hard to coordinate, but I had a lot of fun just seeing fan art. Let me know in the comment section below if you guys want me to do another art contest, like maybe with a more Egyptian focus, like aesthetic thing. Like that would be cool. Like that. I don't know how I would organize that whole thing, but that would be cool.
You want to talk?
Alright.
Let's talk. You seem like a calm and reasonable person. Are you a calm and reasonable person?
So after Kratos and Thor throw some threats at each other, the fight will begin. And I once said this jokingly, but after thinking about it, I think it might be a good idea. What if Thor arrives at Kratos' home on a chariot being pulled by 2 magical goats? And this chariot becomes the stage for the first fight of the game. Now I know what you're thinking. A chariot is not big enough for Kratos and Thor to fight. Especially with Thor.
I think I mentioned Helios.
But this is
yeah, like
Santa Monica could take some liberties from the mythology and make the chariot much bigger, similar to the one Helios had in Chains of Olympus. I like this idea because of its cinematic potential. Maybe this huge chariot could crash into Tyr's statue, and that's the reason its head is knocked down in the trailer.
Okay, alright. Okay, the goats, bad prediction. They were not included there, okay? I'll take full responsibility for that. But they did knock the statue down. I got a point there, okay? My prediction skills are pretty good.
The noise caused by the destruction of the statue would definitely wake up Jormungandr from his slumber, which will lead to his involvement in the fight. So Jormungandr bites one of Thor's goats in midair, and Kratos and Thor plummet to the ground below. However, before they can continue fighting, Jormungandr intervenes once again, and Thor is forced to leave for the time
That would have been cool.
Maybe making this video wasn't such a good idea. I'm hyping myself way too much.
Hey, Captain Kuba, I'm hyping myself up too, man. Like, yeah, I kind of wish, like, that's how it would have happened, because I do think Jormungandr and God of War Ragnarok got kind of sidelined a little bit. Like, he was such an important... He wasn't a really important character in 2018, but he was a character we all loved, right? And he didn't really get that much screen time in the game. I think it would have been cool if he stopped the fight, like, halfway through. But, oh well. You know, they went with a more emotional route, as in, like, Thor just wanted to get Kratos to get angry, and then he just left. But, oh well. You know, maybe we'll see Jormungandr
Anyway,
again.
I think the boss fight that follows the introduction will be against another Aesir god.
Sif?
In fact, be the goddess Sif, Thor's wife. In Norse mythology, Sif doesn't really have a big role.
I remember this.
She's only mentioned in a story regarding the
I'm gonna mention Sindel in a couple of minutes.
construction of Mjolnir. The whole story starts with Loki being mischievous by cutting Sif's beautiful hair. This obviously upsets Thor so much that he threatens Loki with death. Loki swears that he will make things right, and he goes to the dwarves to create gifts for the gods. Among these gifts is Mjolnir and Sif's golden hair. Now in the God of War universe, this can't be how it happened. For one thing, Loki is not living with the gods in Asgard, and the construction of Mjolnir was ordered by Odin himself. Yet, Sif has golden hair, which makes me think Santa Monica will change the reason behind Sif having golden hair. Or maybe in the God of War universe, she was simply born with it. But how she got her golden hair doesn't really matter to me. What I really care about is the possibility of making it her weapon.
Ooh.
Maybe it's not really hair as we know it, but super thin metallic golden strands used to attack her enemies. In this hypothetical boss fight, she might even be able to grab objects with her hair and throw them at Kratos or Atreus. Think of Sindel from the Mortal Kombat games as an example.
Hey, okay, yeah, we don't fight her, but come on, that would have been cool. Come on, like just using metallic hair strands like that. That can be an idea they can take and just implement it in Egypt somehow. Come on, that's a pretty good boss fight.
This fight should take place soon after rescuing Tyr, and the death of Sif could serve to enrage Thor even more. Not only would Kratos be responsible for killing his sons, but his love interest as well.
That's really interesting that I mentioned a boss fight right after rescuing Tyr, because that is like one of my complaints from God of War Ragnarok, is that after Tyr, it feels very lackluster, right? Because it's like you rescued Tyr and Odin only sent a couple of Enher jars, right? And I was expecting there to be a boss fight, but now that Odin is Tyr all along, I don't know how that would be. I don't know if he would sacrifice one of his important gods, so it kind of makes sense why we didn't see Sif or any of the other fights, any of the other boss fights, like protecting, not protecting, like trying to get Tyr back in the cell, but oh well.
Sadly, it is still too early to tell if such a minor character will make it into the game. But this next boss fight, oh, I think this one is pretty much confirmed. I think the next fight should be against the mighty wolf Fenrir.
Okay.
And I know what some of you are going to say. How can we fight against Fenrir since he's one of the good guys? And I understand your question, but do you remember what Jormungandr's response was when he thought Kratos was an Aesir god? If it wasn't for Mimir to stop him, a fight between Kratos and Jormungandr would have broken out. And this is something I think is going to happen with Fenrir, especially since Kratos and Atreus will be accompanied by an actual Aesir god, Tyr. During this fight, I imagine Tyr will lose his arm to the legendary wolf just like in the mythology. But before Fenrir can finish the job, Atreus will be able to communicate with his son and calm him down. This moment could serve as a good character development for Atreus, as well as to show the player that Tyr is a trustworthy character since he sacrificed an arm for our protagonist.
Okay, it's similar to the Thor thing. Okay, so yeah, Tyr wasn't in the fight, fair enough, okay? But Atreus was the one to essentially calm him down by using his Jotun magic by putting a soul into him. So, in a way, I'm telling you.
Not to mention that Santa Monica can do a lot with a giant wolf boss fight.
And sure, it wasn't Fenrir, it was Garm, but Garm ended up being Fenrir, so I got a point there too.
Fight in terms of mechanics. Anyway, let's continue to the next boss fight.
Who made that? That's really
One of the things that really has me excited about God of War Ragnarok is the concept of Asgard really getting involved in Kratos' affairs. I don't know, it just gives me the feeling that we're going to be killing a lot of Norse gods, just like we did in God of War 3.
A moment of silence, please. Yeah, okay, that's good.
And one of the gods I really want to fight is the blind Norse god Hodr. In Norse mythology, Hodr is the god responsible for killing Baldur after Loki tricked him into doing so. And as much as I want to see what the artists at Santa Monica do with this minor character, I'm more interested in how a boss fight with him could play out. If it were up to me, I would place this boss fight in a dark forest in Vanaheim, an environment the blind god will have an advantage over his enemies. Think of Daredevil as an example. However, Hodr would be wielding two small axes for close combat, as well as a bow for long range. This hypothetical boss fight could be similar to the Desert of Lost Souls section in God of War 1, where the player has to listen very carefully for his footsteps. Maybe PlayStation 5 users could take advantage of the console's 3D audio for an even better experience. I know this wouldn't be a boss fight that falls into the epic category of the series, but I think it would add a lot more depth to a game with a combat system that requires you to be on the edge of your seat and waiting for an opportunity to attack. For the next fight,
I gotta be honest, I'm still sad about that. Like, To me, like, the god Hodor is like the blind god. Like, he's one of the coolest gods because he's blind, and it's like there's so much potential there for Santa Monica, because in the mythology he kind of comes across as being a weakling. It's like, oh, he's just blind, you know. He kind of killed Baldur by accident, you know. Like, he's not in control. But I feel like they could have done something really cool with like him being blind. Like, how would he do that? How would he fight Kratos in it? I'm really sad that we didn't get to see him there. But hopefully whenever they do another Norse game, I know the Norse saga is over, blah, 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 but the Norse universe is not dead. It's still there. If they wanted to, they could make a Norse game again. Bottom line, I wish we could see Hodor eventually. That is, if he didn't die behind the scenes in Ragnarok. I don't know.
But I wish Santa Monica would reach back a little to the older games in the series and bring back some spectacle. And I know I mentioned the word spectacle when I talked about the intro fight with Thor, which I think will have plenty. But I'm talking about that feeling of being a complete badass when you played God of War 3. I think Santa Monica needs to let us fight at least one giant.
Hey, I got it!
And I'm talking about a real giant. The size of Thamur if you want an example.
Okay.
Now, from a perspective, this doesn't really make much sense given that the giants are the good guys. But maybe this could be a rogue giant, one that betrayed his kind in service of Asgard, similar to Hecatonchires in God of War Ascension. Hopefully this fight could be modeled after the boss fights you see in Shadow of the Colossus. Atreus would summon a spirit horse big enough for Kratos and Atreus to ride, and they would use this speed to attack parts of his legs and bring the giant down to his knees.
Oh my, this makes me sad, because, okay, look, we do fight a giant, like, not a Thamur-sized giant, but we do fight Gryla, right? And the funny thing is, you fight her with Atreus, and Atreus has a bow and arrow, and there's a moment in the fight where she goes to stomp Atreus. And I think when the game released, I said, like, wouldn't it be cool if they had a weak point or something where you could shoot it as she was about to stomp you, right? That mechanic wasn't in the game. I don't know, like, that boss fight also had a lot of potential. It's in a way, it's a shame that they gave it to Atreus, because Atreus couldn't be super violent against one of his own kind. But, hey, I got another one right. Kind of a rogue giant.
On top of him and proceed to defeat him. This boss fight could even be against the giant Surtur, as he tests Kratos and Atreus to know if they're truly capable of taking on the Aesir gods.
I remember now that this Captain Kuba mentioned Surtur, I remember a comment the other day that someone said that Surtur at the end like caused more problems that he actually solved. Like they couldn't call him down like once he was in his destroyer form. Like so it's funny that the whole Surtur thing in a way just went nowhere. Like it's like he didn't really do much at the end. Like he killed Asgard, but that's about it, you know.
Look, out of all of the ideas on my list, this is the one I really don't think is going to happen. This boss fight would be too big of a departure from the current formula of the series. And even if it were to fit the formula, I think Santa Monica would have a hard time making this fight work on a PS4 console. But hey, an OG God of War fan can dream, alright? Next is a fight that the more I think about, the more I think will happen. A dual fight against Freya and Thor.
Oh man.
This fight would ideally take place sometime around the middle of the story. For some reason, Kratos and Atreus have to go to the base of the World Tree, and there they will encounter Freya and Thor. Thor is ready for round 2 against Kratos and is now sporting his magical strength belt. Freya is also eager for round 2 and is now sporting her old Valkyrie armor for more protection. From a mechanical point of view, this fight will be similar to Magni and Modi, where the player has to learn the patterns of 2 enemies at the same time. However, this fight will not end with any of these characters dying. Instead, the fight might even start Ragnarok itself. As you guys know, the clash between Thor and Jormungandr was so big that it splintered the World Tree and sent Jormungandr back in time.
Oh,
Well,
I like this.
What do you think will happen when Kratos and Thor fight the second time? I suspect the World Tree will shatter, and this will have 2 side effects. First, it will send Kratos and Atreus back in—
Dude, I'm getting mind blown by my own theory right now. I completely forgot about this theory. This is pretty good. It's kind of silly to even when I was making this video. Now that I remember, is that I was struggling to come up with a reason as to why Freya would fight with Thor, right? Because they're both like enemies at that point, right? But I'm like, oh, hopefully in the story, like they do something where Freya really goes to the dark side and joins the Aesir god. But this whole thing of like the Leviathan axe and Mjolnir clashing and then sending them back in time. This sounds cool, man. Well, something else I think I mentioned this in my prediction video as well. That's one I might have to like react to as well, because that's more of like a narrative, right? These are more like a list, right? But yeah.
time, and during this section of the game, they will blow the horn. And number 2, the shattering of the—
Okay, you know what? I like that. I really like that theory. I'm still sad that we don't know who blew the horn, okay? And I think it could have been easily implemented if they added time travel. But I get it. It wasn't part of the story. Am I getting too salty again? Oh no. Am I reviewing God of War Ragnarok? I said I wasn't going to do that again. The World Tree will also cause Ragnarok because, as you guys know, the tree sustains all life in the realms. Once Kratos and Atreus return to their timeline, they will see the destruction they caused after the fight with Freya and Thor, and will maybe go back to Greece to retrieve a very important item that will help them. Trust me, just watch this video, it will blow your mind. I'm gonna have to watch it, I don't remember
Greece,
it.
they will have to fight a god or goddess from Kratos' old home. One that truly hates.
Oh, we jump. Okay, I
These
jumped.
gods could either be Apollo or Artemis, and so
I remember I was hoping like we would get to fight some Greek gods. That one was a bit of a stretch. That one I always knew was a bit of a stretch, but yeah, it would have been cool. Like, I still want to fight Artemis and Apollo. Those are gods that are constantly mentioned in the Greek games, and I hope we see them eventually in one of the games. I don't know, but yeah, it was kind of stupid on my part to think we were gonna fight some Greek gods, especially after I knew that. Wait, when did this come out? I don't know if at this point I knew that the Norse saga was gonna end in 2 games. I don't remember exactly, but oh well.
since they're siblings, why not both? The reason I want these 2 characters to make some kind of appearance in the next game is because we know they exist, but for some reason, they never made it into the previous games, at least not as bosses. Now, I don't want to get into my theory as to why they were absent all this time. That will be a video for another day.
Which I've never done. I've never done a video about why haven't we seen them. And in a way, it's because it's not really a theory as much as it is completely fan fiction, right? So that's a topic I'm going to have to write on my list again, because I think I erased it and I haven't really thought about like, ooh, what happened to Artemis and Apollo. That would be an interesting video to look into.
Instead, I want to focus on the potential this fight could have from a story perspective. Even though Kratos opened up to his son about killing his father, he still didn't mention the moment he's most ashamed of. This is a moment I don't think Kratos will ever willingly tell his son about. And what better way to have this conversation if Kratos is forced to return to Greece with his son? Their mission in Greece would take them to a place where all the remaining Greek gods have been forced to live after humans became the ruling force in Greece. In this bad part of town, Kratos will see weak versions of Morpheus, Aphrodite, Dionysius, and other gods who survived the events of God of War 3.
I really like that
The
idea.
leaders of these gods could either be Apollo or Artemis or maybe both. But before fighting Kratos,
I think I'm gonna jump to the other one now. I understand that, yeah, it was kind of ridiculous to think that we were gonna fight Greek gods in the game, right? But now that I finished like listening to the full entry, like I'm like, oh, I see where I was going with it. Like the fight was, yeah, it would have been a cool fight, but it was more to have this moment where Atreus would learn what he did to his family. And I don't think Atreus still knows what Kratos did to his family. Kratos has told him a lot about, you know, when he was a general, that he killed a lot of innocent people, but I don't think he's ever told him what he did to his previous family. Which, by the way, the location of Lysandra and Calliope's death might be in Egypt. What? It seems you're gonna have to watch this YouTube short? I mean, yeah, I wanted to make a full video, but there wasn't much to it, but it is really interesting. If you guys want, just go and click it. It's a short, it's really cool. Okay, just watch it whenever you want.
I picture one of these gods mentioning to Atreus what his father did to his first family. But before Atreus can ask a question, Artemis will start firing arrows at them. Kratos and Atreus will kill them both, retrieve whatever they came looking for, and then have a serious talk about his father's past. This conversation might even cause some distrust on Atreus' part and might lead to his separation from his father, as the Jotunheim mural seems to indicate.
I honestly think it was a really missed opportunity for not to have a moment like this where Atreus learns what Kratos did to his family. Because, yeah, like I said, that like it would cause some trust issues, and that's what the game was eventually about. Like just having trust issues, Kratos becoming more untrustworthy of like Atreus, and Atreus the same thing. So, but I feel like that opportunity is kind of lost now. Like the game ends with Atreus and Kratos hugging at the end. I don't think they're gonna go back to this whole thing. It's like, what did you do to your previous family, Dad? I think that ship has sailed, and I think Ragnarok would have been like the game Ragnarok would have been the place to introduce it there. But oh well.
Next, we have a boss fight that I'm sure everyone hopes will be in the game.
Look at that.
HEIMDALL.
Hey.
Can we just admire how cool this character is in Norse mythology? He's called the Watchman of the Gods.
And you know what? I'll say it here first, okay? After Baldur, I think Heimdall is my favorite Norse god, okay? I'm not even gonna lie. I know some of you are gonna be like, what about Thor? No, to me it's Heimdall. It's one of those it's one of the most God of War characters for me in God of War Ragnarok, and I just liked him. Initially I didn't like how he looked, and I still think he could look a little bit older, but I overall liked him. He was a jerk, and I wanted to kill him whenever I saw him, so they did a good job with that. He has foreknowledge, he doesn't need sleep, he can see for miles ahead. He also has the job of blowing his horn whenever the invasion of the giants begins during Ragnarok. Aside from Thor, he seems like the perfect opponent for Kratos. So it will be very disappointing if we don't get to fight him at least once in the game. But how exactly is this fight going to play out? In my opinion, this fight will either take place as Kratos and Atreus attempt to leave Asgard and are confronted by Heimdall, or if we follow the mythology closer, it will happen during the start of Ragnarok as the giants invade Asgard. I know I said this before, but I really want to do like a God of War Ragnarok rewrite or something, like how I would, like, after all the facts that I know. Because look, Ragnarok did have some really cool ideas, and like, oh, after the game comes out, how can I implement this idea and make them better according to my opinion, okay? I know it's not objective, but it's like, how can I make them better? And yeah, like this whole thing with Heimdall, I really liked when I said it, huh? But I don't really care when we fight him. I care about where. I don't want to fight Heimdall in either Svartalfheim, Midgard, Vanaheim, not even Valhalla. Oh, yeah, it's the Rainbow Bridge. I want to fight him on the Rainbow Bridge. Any other place will be unacceptable. Kuba, you're so naive. You thought you were gonna walk on the Rainbow Bridge, you dumbass? No, that's just in the background. That is one of those things that, it was such a missed opportunity, man. Like, it's such a beautiful, like, mythological location. Like, why couldn't we walk on the Rainbow Bridge? Even from God of War 2018, I saw the elves walking on those, like, light bridges. I always wanted to walk on those things, but man, the Rainbow Bridge, like, that would have been a really cool location to fight Heimdall. But I get it, given the story, like, structure, like, it couldn't happen, right? This is because I'm dying to see this location, and because it could also play into the mechanics of the fight itself. Now, of course, I don't know how they will design Heimdall, but I want to show you this amazing fan art made by Alex Tomasino, which depicts Heimdall wielding a massive horn. If a horn of these proportions ends up making it into the game, it's possible Heimdall could use its power to blow Kratos and just blow him, just blow him off the bridge. Oh, Kuba. Oh, young Kuba. Well, I mean, I guess, yeah, with my entry here, I thought the boss fight could lean more into the horn mechanics, but it was more about his ability to predict what was going to happen next. I want to watch that again. It's like, whoa. That was back then when I used to do, like, more silly edits. If a horn of these proportions ends up making it into the game, it's possible Heimdall could use its power to blow Kratos off the rainbow bridge. You can see Kratos' arms still here. Sending them straight to their deaths. To avoid this, the player could use the new grapple mechanic to reach a place where the horn's heirs can't get them. Bottom line, I just want to fight Heimdall, and I'm sure Santa Monica won't disappoint. Now, for the most part, I've been focusing on the evil Aesir gods, but what about the Vanir deities? I know Freya will be one of these epic boss fights. Oh no. But what about all of her other family members? No, Kuba. As well? You're gonna get set. Well, no, you're gonna get disappointed. Look, as much as I want God of War Ragnarok to have 120 bosses just like Elden Ring, I know this won't happen for two reasons. God of War Ragnarok will not be an open world game, and having these many boss fights will simply ruin the pacing of the game. The second reason is that Vanir deities despise the Aesir gods just like the giants do, so maybe they will be an ally to Kratos and Atreus. But there is one Vanir god that I wholeheartedly believe will be a boss fight, FENRIR. The reason I think FENRIR will be a boss fight is simply because we already saw Kratos fighting some light elves, and FENRIR is the ruler of all the elves, so Kratos fighting the elves is showing me that FENRIR will be an enemy. If it were up to me, I would depict FENRIR as an insane god, even crazier than Baldur. This is because from God of War lore we know that some Aesir gods tried to kill him after they failed to understand how to use the magic taught to them by FENRIR. It's not very specific how they tried to torture him, but we know for sure that they tried to burn him alive. So for his design in God of War Ragnarok, I wish to see him with burn marks all over his body. Maybe a nervous twitch to show how traumatized he was left after the Aesir gods tortured him. I'm like, I need to get my head out of my own ass, but man, I like that idea. I really didn't like FENRIR in God of War Ragnarok, man. They could have done like the same thing they did of like him not caring about like, you know, his responsibilities and all that with a different angle, with like the more depressive angle that, yeah, he's been tortured by the Aesir gods, he was burnt alive, his sister married off his enemy. Like, you could do all of those things where he's just like, but instead of just being like a Nathan Drake clone, like you could just make him like really depressed. That's something else I want to do, like remaking how we would have met FENRIR in the game. That one I need to hire an artist. Like I wanna do it more fancy, so it's gonna take some time. So, hey, if you want to see that, hit like. You know, let's help me boost this video. You know? Anyway, let's continue. At first, Kratos and Atreus could reach out to him as an ally, but upon seeing his volatile nature and how all he wants is vengeance against the Aesir gods, Kratos might be hesitant to work with them. After all, Kratos does not want an all-out war with the Aesir gods. But FENRIR might see this as a sign that Kratos and Atreus are on the side of the Aesir gods. Did I not mention Odin here?
We have a boss fight with FENRIR. Lastly, one of the things I hope happens in this fight is Kratos taking FENRIR's sword for himself. Norse mythology is full of amazing weapons for a video game setting, and FENRIR's sword, which has the ability to fight by itself, might be a nice addition to Kratos' arsenal. So there you have it, guys, my top 10 predictions for the bosses of God of War Ragnarok.
I'm guessing I didn't include Odin in, because, whoa, wait, hold on, because there was a time where, no, but I think by now, we knew that there was only gonna be 2 games in the Norse Saga, because there was a time when I thought that there was going to be 3 games in the Norse Saga that I didn't think we were going to kill Odin in the second game, because it was a trilogy. You would have to kill him at the end because he's the big bad, right? But I didn't include Odin here, so I don't know if that's because this video was made back then. I don't think so. Or it's because I'm like, he's a given, he's going to be in it, so I just didn't include him, right? So yeah, I got a couple of them right. I think I got more wrong. I should have, maybe I have a counter up here, for how many predictions I got right. But yeah, some of them are silly, as in, Freya fighting with Thor. I don't know how that, alliance would have happened, right? But some of them I really wish, we would visit again. Some of them I wish Santa Monica would, revisit again, like Hodor. Freyr's a done deal. Freyr's crispy bacon right now. He can't fight anymore. But we can still fight Hodor. We can still fight Hodor. We can still fight the Blind God. We can fight Vili Ve. What happened to Vili Ve? They were in a panel in God of War 2018 as well. I've never thought about that. What happened to Odin's brothers? Anyway, so yeah, that was gonna be it for today. I want to look back at one of my predictions videos. I remember while watching this that I made a full-on prediction video that's 20 minutes long. I think it's 20 minutes, right? I think it was the longest edited video I made. Yeah, 22 minutes long. Yeah, I'll probably react to that. That one's probably really bad. But hey, if you guys want to see that, let me know. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. Let me know what fights you thought I got right. Let me know what fights you wish to see in another Norse game if we ever get one. But yeah, that's gonna be it for today. Thank you guys so much for watching, and until then, remember, go forth in the name of Olympus.